The Berlin Wall was built on August 13, 1961, to when it fell on November 9, 1989, in Berlin Wall, Berlin, Germany. It was a crucial event in world history that marked the falling of the Iron Curtain and the start of the fall of communism in Eastern and Central Europe. The fall of the inner German border took place shortly afterwards. The purpose of the Berlin Wall was to keep Western fascists from entering Germany and reduce the socialist state, but it mainly served as the purpose of stemming mass defections from east to west. The Berlin Wall stood until November 9, 1989, when the head of the German Communist Party declared that citizens of the GDR could cross the border whenever they felt like it. The night of November 9, 1989, blissful crowds swarmed the wall. Some people crossed freely into West Berlin, while others brought hammers and picks and began to chip away at the wall. To this day, the Berlin Wall remains as one of the most powerful and enduring symbols of the Cold War. The fall of the Berlin Wall symbolized the Cold War and divide between the Communist Party, Soviet bloc, and the Western Democratic Capitalist bloc. The fall of the Berlin Wall marked the first crucial step towards German reunification, which officially ended 339 days later on October 3, 1990, with the end of East Germany and the official reunification of the German state along the democratic lines of the West German Basic Law. On the eastern side of the wall, people were told the wall was built to keep other people out. On the western side, they were told it was to keep other people in. On the east, people wanted to cross the wall, but they were not allowed. On the western side, people were allowed to cross the wall, but they did not want to. The wall split Berlin for 28 years. Some of the only pictures you will see of the Berlin Wall are covered with bright and colorful pictures, and that's because whenever the Western people noticed the wall, they would paint it with bright and colorful pictures, and they would write messages and slogans all over it. But that was only on the west side of the wall. On the east side, it remained untouched except for a framing of barbed wire. When people heard that the wall was gone, they rushed to see for themselves. They were so happy that they shook hands and danced through the night. In that moment, they all realized that they weren't opposites after all. They all realized that deep down, everyone was the same. Everyone wanted peace and happiness and to get along. They all wanted an end to the violence that could be caused by opposites. The fall of the Berlin Wall was not just an end to a story, it was also the end of history. When the wall went up, people were too shocked to do anything. For younger people, the mood changed very quickly. The front doors of people's buildings led to the east, while people's back windows led to the west. Residents began jumping or climbing from one half of Berlin to the other. A crowd gathered on the western side to help, including firemen who were holding out tarps to catch people. At the same time, the Communist People's Police were trying frantically to clear the buildings. In a highly symbolic moment, one man attempting to flee found himself half out of a window, held by his arms by the East German police from above, and pulled by his ankles by West German citizens from below. On August 15th, 19-year-old Corporal Konrad Schumann left his post to hurdle the barbed wire barrier hanging across the border he was supposed to be guarding. Amazingly, a photographer standing on the western side captured him mid-jump. In full uniform and helmet, with his rifle hanging over his shoulder, he is pictured hanging in the air, staring nervously down at the thick rolls of wire directly underneath him. He is neither in the east or west. He is in no man's land. On September 1, 1961, two young talented East German filmmakers named Frank Vogel, who was the director, and Paul Wiens, who was the scriptwriter, began shooting a fictional documentary called And Your Love Too. Just over a year before, in March 1960, the director Jean-Luc Godard had released his seminal feature Breathless, to a joyful critical reception. Vogel and Wiens were eager to bring Godard's groundbreaking approach, his refined editing techniques combined with gritty visual authenticity, to bear on their story of the wall. On June 12, 1987, U.S. President Ronald Reagan spoke near the wall in front of Berlin's famous Brandenburg Gate. By 1987, Gorbachev developed a new policy of openness, which resulted in a major cultural thaw. Freedoms of expression and of information were significantly expanded. The press and broadcasting were allowed uncommon candor in the reportage and criticism, and the country's legacy Stalinist totalitarian rule was eventually repudiated by the government. Reagan was quick to seize on this moment of change in the Soviet Union and asserted his willingness to develop an arms reduction agreement with his Soviet counterpart while also agitating for increased openness between people on both sides of the Iron Curtain. The most well-known part of Reagan's speech was at approximately the 12-minute mark of his 26-minute speech. General Secretary Gorbachev, if you speak peace, if you seek prosperity for the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe, if you seek liberalization, come here to this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, open this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
General Secretary Gorbachev, if you seek peace, if you seek prosperity for the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe, if you seek liberalization, come here to this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, open this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Today, Monday, November 9th, 2020, marks 31 years since the fall of the Berlin Wall. You might be wondering what it looks like now. Well, today a busy street runs where the wall once stood and buildings populate the once deadly strip. Since the wall dividing East and West Berlin was only 28 miles, or 48 kilometers long, an additional 75 miles of wall encircled West Berlin, which was totally surrounded by East Germany. Today, this same stretch of road features a Berlin Wall memorial.